All right, everyone, good evening. Tonight we're going to look at our first PowerPoint, which is talking about the Enlightenment and also the principles of U.S. government. All right, so our learning target for today, after this lesson, you guys should be able to describe the principles of the Enlightenment and also explain how the Enlightenment played a role in the founding of the U.S. Sorry about that. All right, so here are your two learning targets again. Can we describe the principles of the Enlightenment, and can we explain how the Enlightenment played a role in the founding of the U.S.? So, the Enlightenment, what is it? Basically, when we think about the Enlightenment, we think about what is known as an age of reason, okay? Up until this point, what we have looked at is an era based on religion and based on faith. This is not the case now. Now when we look at the Enlightenment thinkers challenged religion and they challenged tradition. And this was a huge concept because this is something that has never happened before. Now when we look at the Enlightenment in terms of government in particular, what we think about is the rights of man or the rights of the citizen. And this is crucial because this is really how the Enlightenment came to inspire things like the American Revolution and the French Revolution. And one of the most important people during this generation, during the Enlightenment, was a gentleman by the name of John Locke. Okay, now Locke's theory is that everybody is born with a blank slate. And what I mean by that is that everybody has the ability to be born good, and everybody has the ability to do great things. And along with this blank slate, Locke says that people are guaranteed three things, and these might sound familiar: life, liberty, and Locke's last one was property, which differs a little bit than life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but this is actually what it was before Jefferson changed it at the last minute. Okay, so life, liberty, and property. And Locke's theory on government was that people run the government, and that the government is a servant of the people. And in terms of revolution and how Locke became such a visionary for people in America, is that he felt that revolutions were not only a right of the people, but they were sometimes necessary in extreme cases, especially cases like the American Revolution. Okay? So, again, revolutions are justified because it's people who are running the government, and the government needs to consent to the people. So, the key principles in the Enlightenment: people run the government. That's number one, and that is the most important. Okay? Key principle number two. Key principle number two is that a strong government is a bad one. Okay, and obviously that kind of goes hand in hand with this one right here. So people need to run the government, and a strong government, meaning a government that is too powerful, that does not have say from the people, is a bad one. And finally, the last key principle of the Enlightenment is that all men are guaranteed certain unalienable rights, or rights given to them at birth. Okay? So all men have certain rights. There we go. Sorry, it's the first time I'm using this. It's pretty cool, but it's a little difficult to handle. Okay, so how does the Enlightenment equal the United States? All right, if we go back and we look, we can see that all of these principles are key principles that exist in our government, and hopefully, and I'm sure you guys have heard of a lot of these. Okay, but when we look at it, we look at our founding fathers. Our founding fathers, people such as Jefferson, and people such as Washington, and people such as John Adams, they all looked to people like Hobbes. People like Hobbes and also people like Locke. Okay, they looked to Enlightenment thinkers to gear our government. Okay, they realized that the Enlightenment was key, and what they realized is that they were no stronger, and they could not be stronger. We'll go with could not. They could not be stronger than ordinary people. The best example of this was after the American Revolution. Many people wanted George Washington to become the king of America. And Washington did not want that, because what he knew what would happen is that if he became the king of America, the government would become too powerful, the people would have no say, and as a result, we would have a massive uprising. So the last point, going along with this with the Founding Fathers, is they looked to the Enlightenment, they realized that people had to have guaranteed rights. Okay, so all people would be guaranteed rights, and that was crucial. And we're going to look more at this when we look at the Bill of Rights. Okay, but the biggest thing is that we all are guaranteed unalienable rights, rights that are given to us at birth. Okay, so an unalienable right is rights that are given to us at birth. Just by being born, we have these rights. Okay, so now what we're going to look at, we're going to transition, and we're going to look at what are the 5 principles of U.S. government. Okay, so the 5 principles of U.S. government, which are going to sound pretty familiar, are equality, rights, liberty, opportunity, and finally, democracy. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to dive in to all of these, but these are the 5 key principles of U.S. government. Okay, these are the principles that Locke would say, if we did not have these 5 principles, okay, if these principles went by the wayside and were eliminated, then what we would have to do is we would have to rise up and start a revolution. Okay, these are all key Enlightenment philosophies, and therefore they are key philosophies in American government. So let's go a little more in depth with these. The first one we're going to look at is equality. All people are treated the same. Okay, all people are treated the same, which is key. All right, I'm going to erase that real quick. The next one that we're going to look at is rights. Okay, and a great word for this is powers. Powers given to people by the government. Okay, what powers do we have? Well, we as American citizens have a lot. Okay, now it's just important that we make sure that we use these rights and use these powers appropriately. Okay, the next one is liberty. And liberty, the greatest definition for liberty is just freedom. Okay, having freedom as individuals. Okay, now moving on, the next one that we're going to look at is opportunity. Okay, and opportunity kind of goes along with this idea of the pursuit of happiness. Okay, as we talked about a little bit ago, when Locke came up with his key components to the Enlightenment, he came up with life, liberty, and property. And as I said, Jefferson kind of came through and changed this to the pursuit of happiness. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at this idea of opportunity tomorrow, because a lot of people have a different definition of what opportunity really is. Okay, and then the last one is democracy. And when we look at democracy, it's just a system of government founded on the principle that the power comes from the governed. Okay? So the power comes from the people. And this is super critical. Okay? So, just a quick recap to review. Okay? Can you do the following things? Can you explain the Enlightenment and what it is? Can you name the 5 principles of the U.S. government? And finally, the last one, can you connect the Enlightenment to these 5 principles? And if you can do that, then you have successfully achieved understanding of this material. We're going to go over it tomorrow. I apologize for the length of the PowerPoint. This is my first time using this software, so it was a little iffy. I'm glad you guys were able to bear with me. We will kind of go over these in depth. All right, so I hope you guys have a great night, and I will see you all tomorrow.